Alright guys, so welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We're going to be using the newly EZA'd LR Vegeta and Goku exchange unit. Another one I only have a singular dupe in and also at level 10 links. We do have them on the new worldwide or new-ish in LR Broly's 200 lead just because I'm missing a lot of the better ones that they could probably go on. I say better ones. I'm missing the best one they could go on in terms of once you exchange into Goku. I mean, they have some very good 200 leads in LR Broly, Tech UI, Saiyan Day Jeets, even the Frieza, the first form Frieza, but more so the other ones I've mentioned, and then also the new Scout of Vegeta as well, which actually helps out for a part of the Goku portion of the passive where you need to either be facing a Planet Namek Saga enemy or have a Planet Namek Saga category ally attacking in the same turn, get the additional 30% damage reduction and guaranteed crit, but more so the extra damage reduction taking Goku to a total of 60%. Now the reason why me not having the new Jeets kind of hurts that a little bit is, for example, on this team we have two Namek Saga units. They are one of them, doesn't include themselves. Super EZA Frieza is another one, which is obviously good. However, it's one unit, so unless I keep them on the same rotation, which after a while I will move Frieza around, obviously I won't have that damage reduction consistently, and it's also a Goku unit. So while Goku actually links fairly well with the Broly units on this team, that means I won't consistently have that extra 30% damage reduction, taking Goku up to 60% damage reduction in total, which really helps him out. So because I didn't summon for Jeets because I didn't want him, and also nor the part 2 LRs, and I don't really have a category where I can run the Krillin and Gohan unit together with these guys and have all the rest of the new Planet Namek Saga units, then as I said, I don't consistently have that full 60% damage reduction, which kind of hurts these guys a bit. So we're just gonna have to make do with what we have currently, but at least we have them on a 200% lead, I guess. But what we starting out in terms of numbers right now, 19.1. I mean, that's probably because of Broly currently, because we haven't transformed him yet. But regardless, 19.1 is very nice, and 11.8 on the additional. Jeets right now is raising attack and defense by 30% for 3 turns, so we have 2 more turns of that. And on the 12 key super attack, raises attack by 50% and defense by 30% for 1 turn as well. Starts the turn with key plus 3, attack and defense plus 180%, then gains an additional key plus 4 and damage reduction by 30% when HP is 30% or more, which should be easy to keep a hold of because how often are you dropping down to 30% HP? Very much going to be a scenario of if the wrong unit gets super attacked or if certain units don't dodge. He then gains an additional key plus 4 again and launches an additional attack. There's a 50% chance of becoming a super attack when HP is 50% or more. He can actually also benefit from in LR Broly's domain because of course he starts as an extreme unit and then once he transforms then becomes a super unit. So that's actually quite a little benefit, a nice little benefit. I didn't actually realize what I put in the team. Jeets then gains another additional key plus 4 and launches another additional attack. There's a 70% chance to become a super attack when HP is 70% or more. That's the one you may lose more often than not, just because typically if you are getting supered, if you are taking damage in some of this difficult content, that's kind of where your HP floats around, like between 60, maybe 70% and upward. He then gains an additional attack and defense plus 150 when attacking. And then if your HP is at 50% or less at the start of character's attacking turn or starting from the 5th turn, which is completely fine with events being a little bit longer nowadays. So that either or condition for the revival is very nice. I like that a lot. From the start of battle, you will revive with 70% HP recovered, which is always nice. And then you'll exchange into Goku. So I really do like the either or condition. I think it's completely fine. The one thing though is before you exchange, Jeets really just doesn't have a whole lot going for him. But I mean, right now, the Kid Boost support, he is getting 679k attack stat, 358k defense. We're on turn 3. I'm actually going to use an Usher. The reason why I'm going to use an Usher is because I want to see what Jeets is putting out with the Kid Boost support. I mean, we do lose Brutal Beatdown, which is kind of annoying, but I want to see what numbers he's putting out with just the Kid Boost support. And then I don't think he would survive normal, so we're not risking it. 16.8. Okay, that's probably a little bit more reasonable. That's probably going to be what he's putting out normally. And I mean, I'll take that. 16.8 million attacks. That's very good, especially with all those built-in additionals. He could do a ton of damage in one turn. However, that's kind of all he's got going for him. I said he doesn't have a whole lot. Until you get to Goku, Jeets doesn't really have a whole lot going on. Yes, he can do some good damage. You know, you're looking at 16 to 18, maybe even 20 mil, depending on your setup, support, things like that. What links are active. Cool. That's great. You have 2 additionals built into his passive. You're looking at 10, 12, maybe even 13, 14 million additionals after that. Cool, that's great. You got skill orbs or additionals in your dupe system pop. That's another one activate. You can do a good amount of damage in one turn. Outside of that, Jeets doesn't really have too much else. He has 30% damage reduction, but that's only going to get you so far when you're facing difficult enemies who are doing 2.5 million plus attack stats nowadays, and Jeets pretty much just has sheer stats to rely on. There's no extra damage reduction in this part of his passive. Only once you get to Goku. There's no guard or even conditional guard. There's no dodge. There's nothing else that kind of backs him up to go with that 30% damage reduction. It's just sheer stats and 30% damage reduction, which I said is only going to get him so far. It's only going to do so much. So I reckon all the normals in the game, once Jeet super attacks, completely fine. Once you start getting to like the more high-end super attacks, I said your 2.5 million, your 2.7, close to 3 million. And then eventually when Go Freezer comes out, that's probably when Jeets is going to take a bag of damage and he's going to get you killed. Which hopefully by that point you're exchanged into Goku, which as I said by turn 5, if you don't actually die, you can get it triggered by turn 5. Or starting from turn 5, shall I say. Which is good, but you have to get the revival triggered, which I mean, considering Jeets doesn't have a whole lot going for him, it's probably very easy to do. But then don't forget that also applies earlier on in the fight where you don't want him to die so soon. I said the Jeets portion is just very lacking, if I just put it that way. The revival's great. I said having a revival mechanic is always very good, very handy. But I said the Vegeta portion of this unit just isn't very good. But I suppose you want him to die anyway because you want him to exchange into Goku. So not only do you have the revival mechanic, you kind of want it to happen so you can get Goku out. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but as I said, just Jeets himself doesn't have a whole lot going for him. But then again, as I said, you do want him to die because you do want Goku to come out because he is the better part of the unit. But other than that, I mean, Jeets does very good damage, but then so does a lot of other units in the game as well. I'm just unsure if we're actually going to get the revival because the enemy Jeets might be dead by then.
I beg you, he must die by Saiyan hands.
I hated you at first, but I began to understand over time. You were a proud Saiyan warrior. Just know this, I'll do what I can to carry on that pride of yours.
Okay, we got the revival, and if you didn't know, Dokkan did actually change Goku's passive. I say changed, I think they essentially changed it back. The 12 key super attack is the exact same. The 18 key is what's different now that we've exchanged into Goku. So now he'll greatly raise attack and defense by 50% for 3 turns. So Goku is starting with key plus 10 attack and defense plus 200%. He'll gain an additional attack and defense plus 159% on super. 30% damage reduction, 50% chance to crit. Does gain an additional key plus 5 and attack plus 59% when it's an extreme class enemy. Considering the majority of the most difficult enemies in the game right now are super class, you're probably going to be missing out on that unless we get some new red zone enemies. And then the main part, which is why running these guys on the Planet Namek Saga category team's a hell of a lot better, is the 30% damage reduction, guaranteed crit, as long as there's another Planet Namek Saga category unit attacking in the same turn, or a Planet Namek Saga category enemy, which you need the ally, because the enemy, there really isn't one this on Planet Namek Saga. But Goku's on a 447k attack stat, 201k defense. Actually links fairly well with Broly. Now, we do have the extra 60%, or not extra, we do have the extra 30% damage reduction because we have Frieza on the rotation. So we do have 60% damage reduction and type advantage. I'm going to take the risk and have him in slot 1 because I know Tech Broly may kill. And I kind of want to avoid that. Yeah, we should be fine. We're taking, what, 7,000 on normals? 16.3 million attacks, that's still pretty good. Again, that will raise over 3 turns, which unfortunately we're not going to get through just because Jeets is almost dead. The one annoying thing though is Goku loses all of Vegeta's additionals. So Vegeta has 2 built-in additionals. Goku retains none of them for some reason. Every built-in additional you start with Vegeta, Goku just doesn't have. I don't know, maybe it's because he has extra damage reduction. Maybe Vegeta is supposed to be the more damaging part of the unit and then this one's supposed to be the more defensive one. I'm not sure. I know we only got to see Goku very briefly. His stats will go up a bit. As I said before, my only qualm is Vegeta doesn't offer too much, but then again, you kind of want him to die, but he does need to survive to a certain point where you can trigger the revival, I guess. So again, it's a double-edged sword. Goku's putting out good numbers. The damage reduction is handy, but unless you've been summoning on the new Jeets, maybe even the new, as I said, Gohan Exchange Piccolo unit, you probably, like me, won't have many Planet Namek Saga units. So if you do run a team like this and you only have one usable one, you're going to be missing out on that damage reduction and guaranteed crit, but and more importantly, the extra damage reduction for majority of the time, apart from one turn when Super EZA Frieza is on the rotation. So outside of a Planet Namek Saga category, I don't really see much use for this unit. Like, I really don't see much use for them. But then also, once you get into the Goku part, if you do have the setup exactly the way you want it, it is quite a solid, they are quite solid. I said Vegeta just doesn't really offer too much, but then again, you do want him to revive, so nah, either or. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and peace.